As a parent, my kids just, they're 19 and 20 now, but they were in Roblox. They were in, they played Minecraft. They played all these online games and things like that. Do you know whose ID they would grab? They would try to grab your ID, your parents' ID, go get a copy of it and just use it and act like they're 18. You think that kids aren't doing this today? They are, and it's going to cause a lot more of this problem. And I think most of these things should be left to parents and their discretion and their permissions, and not for the government to tell the parents how to raise their kids.
Yeah, that's a great point.
That's a big point for me. It is, and how do you know that these kids aren't sneaking into their parents' room at night and grabbing their wallet and sneaking their IDs out, go grab a picture of it on their cell phone and then keep it? There's so many different ways of doing this. And then there's the parents that just let their kids do whatever they're going to let them. You can't stop that. And I know that that's not the greatest way of saying things, but it's at the cost of what? Everyone else's privacy. Is that right? That can be breached. So now you're putting everyone's ID that can be stolen and reused. And that's just basically it. As a parent, I'm one that doesn't agree with this kind of thing, and it should be up to me.
With the censorship levels and stuff going on and stuff, it really brings me to the thing is, why isn't it that we push for parents to better parent their children and stuff? They need to be watching what their kids are doing. I'm sorry, but like I see some of these posts and stuff like, oh, my kid just spent $15,000 on Roblox. Well, why did he have access to do that in the first place? So they're pushing for something in the names of saving these kids and saving these children and stuff, but in reality, the only people that can save these kids and save these children are the parents and the teachers and the good people in life and stuff that help them to become good adults. So
it's their village responsibility.
And that's the thing is like it makes me wonder again who's benefiting from this and who's not, because I'm not benefiting from this. I doubt people's kids will be benefiting from this. So sometimes I like the sound of my own voice, but go ahead and speak on what you were talking about, Chris.
I completely agree with that. Like the government should be raising people's kids, and it's funny, like I don't agree with most of the things that Howard Stern says, but I'll never forget, I watched an interview with him and the interviewer was so proud of himself. He had this big gotcha moment planned. And he's just like, my kids watch your show or listen to your show and they were repeating the stuff in school and they got in trouble. And Howard looked at him and was like, you're a horrible parent. Why would you let your kids listen to my show? I don't let my kids listen to my show. And it was just, the guy was just like horrified. He's like, oh, wow, that did not go the way I thought it would. And it's just such a good point. Like, the government has no business telling you what your kids should or should not watch. Like, that's up to your parent. Like, if the government gets to decide everything that your kids are able to see, then they're only going to see a certain side of things, only going to see a certain narrative, and it's like, you look at some of these age verification, like the implementations of them are just ridiculous. Like Roblox just rolled out their age verification for the chat so that you get put into an age group. And like, if you're like a really little kid, you can only chat with other really little kids. If you're a teenager, you can only chat with teenagers. Sounds great on the surface. But what that means is they're only checking IDs for adults, obviously, because 6-year-olds don't have an ID. So if you go in there as a 6-year-old, you just say, hey, I'm a 6-year-old. They're like, okay, here, you get to talk with a bunch of 6-year-olds. What do you think a pedophile is going to do? And now you've, one, given them open access to the kids he's looking for. And two, all of the kids in the chat now think it's safe to talk to him because he couldn't be in there unless he was 6. Like you literally just gave them a free pass. And so the job is supposed to be, let's protect the kids. And what you've done is made it way more dangerous for children and now risk everybody else's information. That's insane.
I agree. And that's the thing is like, and going on what Susie said too, these parents are just, or these kids are just the kids are smart. They're smarter than what we give them credit for. They're going to go steal those credit cards. They're going to take those IDs and stuff, with Discord getting hacked and all those IDs going missing and stuff. What are those IDs going to be used for? Can't you just take one of those IDs and upload them to some website? Now you're that person. So
they can share it with their friends.
It raises a lot of interesting concerns on my part.
Yeah, in Australia, they just did the social media ban for teens. And on day one, there was literally like tens of thousands of posts from teenagers that were like, I uploaded a picture of my dog and it let me in. And so they were all posted like, here's my golden retriever. And that says I'm 18 years old now, apparently. And like, you know, that's day one, and the entire system is being trolled by a bunch of teenagers who are supposed to be the ones that were going to get stopped by this. And meanwhile, there's thousands of posts from grown-ups like, heck, I just got locked out of my Facebook. What do I do? And it's like, so the only people that aren't affected by it is the ones you're supposedly trying to ban, and everybody else is having a problem with it now. So that's the thing. Like, the people that make these laws about the internet have no understanding of how the internet works. So they just think like, oh yeah, there's a switch over here. You press that, and that stops the Roblox traffic. And this one over here, that's Steam. You know, and it just doesn't work like that. And all they end up doing is breaking everything and making the entire internet a much worse experience for everyone.